Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you from very sunny Duluth, Minnesota. We're sitting at a whopping 46 degrees and a tad bit cloudy. Let's double check and make sure that's right, because I don't think that's right. 45 degrees. So yeah, I was wrong. In the wrong way. It is very sunny out. It is very nice. I am very happy to be here. It is Tuesday morning about 8:30 a.m. Yes, it is early for Mr. Mean, but that's how I roll. Anyway, good morning, all my meanies and future meanies. As always, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Let's like and subscribe. Hit that bell to be donged when I ding, or whatever that means. And we'll go from there. Obviously, if you hit the bell, you'll be notified when I post or go live. I do go live a little bit. And speaking of live, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be live tonight with artist extraordinaire Storn Cook about 7:30 Central Standard Time. I'm in Duluth, Minnesota, and we will be recording. Excuse me one second here. I have to reply to this. We are so professional here on the Mr. Mean Show. Yeah, we'll be live tonight, hopefully at 7:30ish Central Standard Time. And we'll be, and this time we'll have video. Last time there was, YouTube keeps changing up their creator studio, and I just don't know. You would think, being an IT professional, this would not be hard, but for whatever reason, I just have a hard time. I don't know what it is. I'm using OBS, and I use YouTube streaming, and I like it when it works. It works phenomenally, but for whatever reason, it's decided to be stupid last Tuesday. But I believe I've got it figured out. I'm going to do a little bit of testing again, just to make sure I've got the process down. And hopefully they don't change it between now and tonight. Yes, also for my meanies that follow, the beard is gone. We're getting into the warmer weather, and the deal I made with my wife hates facial hair. And the deal I made with my wife was to trim the beard when it got warmer outside, or get rid of it. So she hates facial hair, and it does make me look a lot younger. Hard to believe that this June I will be 52 years old. I'm going pretty strong, though. I feel pretty good. Anyway, so we got all that out of the way. If you want to send donations to the Mr. Mean Speaks, you can do it through ZellyPay, ZellyPay.com. ZellyPay.com. It's on most of your phones. It's built into the banking institutions. Free for you, free for me. I get the money right away. A big shout out to Jesse Jesus. I'm not sure how he goes by, but he's been supporting me, and I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. It means, you don't even know how much it means. But anyway, all my European friends, if you just want to send me a check in the post, contact me and I'll show you how to do it. I don't know of a better way. I refuse to use Patreon just because of some of the things they do and stuff like that. So I don't know of a better way. And I appreciate those of you that have reached out to me saying, hey, we'd love to, but you don't take Patreon, and I appreciate that. Believe it or not, the thought that counts is real. And, we hit 500 subscribers, and then I lost one, so we went back down to 499. So, but I did get the notification from YouTube that I hit 500 subscribers, so thank you all. Delgoro, or something like that, was my 500th subscriber, so thank you, sir or madam. You're the magic winner. You win absolutely nothing because I have nothing to give you. But hey, thanks for being a subscriber, man. I appreciate it. And hopefully you enjoy the content. And if there's something you guys want to see reviewed, somebody had reached out to me and asked me if I do 5th edition. Contrary to belief, I do enjoy 5th edition. I played D&D this past Saturday and had a blast. We finished up one of the adventures in the Yarning Portal. My friend ran it, and unfortunately it's coming summer, so he had to bow out of the group. So now we're back down to 2 players. Hopefully I can find some new players, and I'll start running again. I'm getting the creative juices flowing to run. And also Carbon 2185, or whatever it's called, is going to be a Cyberpunk 5th edition variant, and I think I want to run that. My Esper Genesis game is probably going to go on hiatus just because now the wife is working and Tuesday night is the only night I have free with my wife's therapy and everything. She has to go 3 nights a week, and Friday nights are out because of daycare situations. So Tuesday night is my only free night, and I want to spend that with my family. So I'll let the guys know here real soon that Tuesday night game has to die. But it was a fun run. They did rescue. We played Esper Genesis. If you haven't tried it, it's a 5th edition sci-fi variant. It's probably one of the better ones out there. I really, really, really like it. And I'm hoping they get the rest of their books out. They're way behind on their Kickstarter. They're coming up on, I think, at the end of the summer, they'll be over a year behind on their Kickstarter, which is really sad. But I've made my rant about Kickstarter, so I won't beat that dead horse. But yeah, I mean, it's sad when these companies, they promise the world and they can't deliver nothing. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully they get their shit together. But as far as they've already turned me off, I won't be buying the books. I may pick them up as PDFs, but I'm not gonna. They can't keep their word, and it's just sad. It really is. So I'm glad I didn't back the Kickstarter, because I'd be pissed if I dropped $100 and I can't get my books. I mean, what are you gonna do? But anyway, that's a rant for another time. Anyway, today's video du jour, over at Feral Games Inc. I actually backed this, and I got it's up on the screen, as you can see. Is that not a man? If I saw that coming at me in the middle of the night, I would run. I would shit my pants, first of all, and I would run like a screaming little girl. Although I know some badass girls, so maybe not. But I also have the physical copy. I got it in the post a couple days ago. I've been reading it. Man, you guys know Mr. Mean is not a horror junkie. It's not my genre. I own, I think, 7th edition of Call of Cthulhu. It's a beautiful book. It's like parchment size. It's the collector's edition. It's gorgeous. I love it. No desire to play it. Not my cup of tea. Horror is not my genre. But, man, if it was, I would run the shit out of this. Man, that's high praise coming from Mr. Mean. You guys know I have some eclectic, weird taste. And, man, this is, I mean, all I got to say is Feral Games, you knocked it out of the park. The art, first of all. But well, let's do like we normally do. Hardback, stitch, glued binding. This book's not going to fall apart anytime soon on you. The paper is nice and thick. I like the paper choice that they chose. And like I said, this was I backed this on Kickstarter, so I paid for this. And James Gantry, the owner of Feral Games Inc., sent me. Normally what would happen is you'd get a voucher for Drive-Thru RPG for what you paid for the book, and you just have to cover the cost of shipping. James, being a super awesome guy, he covered the cost of shipping for me to get me my copy of the book. So James, a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much. Your hard work shows, buddy. It's a gorgeous book. I really, really like this book. I was reading this late at night, Saturday night. I was curled up on the couch reading it, and I had all the lights off except for I have a little light over my head, and I was creeped out. The art is so evocative in here. If you're a fan of Cthulhu and you're a fan of 18th century, turn of the century dynamics and gameplay, this is the game for you, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna like it. I mean, I've got the PDF up on the screen, so instead of flipping through the book, we're gonna flip through the PDF. But I just wanted everybody to see that I do physically have a copy of the book. But we're gonna look at the PDF. This is just so. There's the cover. Nice splat page. League of Seekers. Nice forward. I don't know who did the forward. I'm not sure if it was James or it was the other writer, Jay Lasarde, I'm assuming how you say his name, and then the additional writers. But you guys, you knocked it out of the park. All I can say is thanks to all the backers. My mom. For those that don't know, Feral Games is based out of merry old England, and so me mum is and the playtesters, the haters, because let's face it, they help, and to all the masters of horror. That's just perfect. So Table of contents, which I really like. Everything you need to know. Some adventure, an adventure in the back to get you started. Character sheet and a seeker's ledger. If you go to DriveThru, this is available on DriveThru RPG as well, and it is available in print on demand through DriveThru. 272 pages, glued and stitch bounding, hardback. It's a solid book. It is not going to fall apart on you. That right there, that's your first real piece of art. That's what greets you, aside from the cover, because the cover is creepy as fuck. And then you run into this, basically something coming out of the woods, and I just think it's very, very evocative. The artist that he got to do the work here they nailed the theme of the art in this. And I gotta say, I think James puts a lot of hard work into his books, because what I do like is all of his books, the art really sets the tone for the game, and art can make or break an RPG. Delve had some good art, and it was very sparse, but it was good art. Zombie Squad had some cool art, very thematic. Of course, Ghost Ops. I love the layout here. Everything's black and white. There is a touch of color in the book, which is nice, and you'll see how they do the colors. It's very cool, kind of creepy, but also cool. So we go through our timeline here. And it's 1765, so 18th century AD now. Europe is in turmoil. The city's filled with madness. Quarantine zones can barely hold the tide of the inflicted, and the nights are filled with monsters and screams. The forest and mountains are now home to creatures and beasts from folktales and myths. The new world and its religious fervor has awoken ancient demons. The blood plague has run rampant through the colonies. Cannibalism, sacrifice, cults, pacts with dark gods bring a surge of foul horror to New England. The League of Seekers is at its strongest, but as the League grows, so does the horror. Tremors in reality and occurrences of cult-worshipping dark cosmic gods, all but forgotten to man, have become new threats as the Seekers attempt to stop these gods from breaking through into the reality. You are a seeker, the last chance for humankind. So grab your weapon and hunt. That says it all, guys. You're playing a seeker. The game is League of Seekers. I recommend you read the timeline. Look at the art. I mean, dude, that's just creepy shit. But it's solid and it makes sense for the game, Great quotes in here from like Mary Shelley and Edgar Allan Poe, I believe. This is a person. See, there's the use of the red, like I was talking about, which just pops, and I really, really appreciate that. Very sparse use of color in the game, and man, does it pop! I really, really like it. So there's everything. There's going to be a little bit of a delay as I'm going through this, so just bear with me. It's a percentile system, and you want to roll under, so rolling low is good, rolling high is bad, rolling equal to or less than the total is a success. So, there's your game. Everybody knows Mr. Mean loves percentile systems. I love my Savage Worlds. I have not gotten Suede yet. I haven't even had a chance to, look at it. I plan on picking it up. I did back Interface 0, which is using the new Suede, and they had a very cool back deal for previous backers of Interface 2.0. So I'm very excited for that, and then I'm probably going to pick up Suede when that comes out. Will I run it? I don't know. I hope I can, but we'll see. So I do. The other thing I like is I like it when a game sets the theme and sets the immersion. And what I mean by that is just the little things. So like here, instead of a dungeon master or a games master, no, my friend, you're a guild master, which makes sense for, 18th century, Europe, the colonies and everything. You're a guild master. And that's the GM. You control all the non-players within it. You decide how the world will look to the players and how it reacts to their actions. The GM is the judge, the jury, the great arbiter of disputes. The GM must also be impartial and want to see the player succeed, because without that success, the story does not proceed. And I think that's awesome. That's such nice. And then there's a little piece of fiction here, which is, mwah, it's nice. I'll let you guys look at it. You can pause the video and read it. It's just and this is interspersed throughout this whole book, and that's what I really like. The game does a good job of setting the tone. I think it is so important in an RPG when you're asking people to sit around a table for 3 to 7 hours on average, 3 to 6 hours, and you're asking them to suspend belief and to set the mood. I'm telling you, if I was going to run this for my group, it would be candles, no laptops at the table, pen and paper, candles, some spooky music on in the background. For those that don't know, a lot of people now have Amazon Prime. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you can stream music through Amazon Prime. It's Amazon Prime's music, and they have all of the Midnight Syndicate music on there. Midnight Syndicate has their claim to fame in doing the Vampire the Masquerade, but they've also done a bunch of D&D music as well. So I think the Vampire the Masquerade, some of their soundtracks would be perfect for this because it's spooky. I think they even have a horror one. Go check it out. Shameless plug for I'm a big Amazon Prime guy, but yeah, definitely check it out. So again, this book just does really great. I mean, in layout, look, we've got the little touch of red there. It just really makes the page pop. We've got our our formatting on the page. It's not there's not little monsters running down the side, which they could have done and gotten away with Cthulhu, or the horror type, but they didn't. They kept it very clean, very, very clean and simple, and I like it. It to me, it kind of adds to the spookiness of this book. Then you get shit like this that just goes, what? But again, super cool, awesome art, and we go from there, and then we go into Genesis, and this is about creating your character. And he gives you an example. One of the things I would have liked to have seen, one criticism is it literally, you're diving in head first here, kids. There's no holding your hand. There's no coddling you. You jump right into character creation. I mean, there is no preface. There's a brief section on the GM and the players and the base mechanic, which is a percentage system. You want to roll equal to or less than whatever the difficulty number is, and boom, you go right into character. I would have liked to have seen a bleed in, a little bit of how to make a character. Instead, we just dive right into it, which is good, and it basically just, boom, here you go. There's several different character classes, and I hate to use that word, but it's basically what they are. And there's a bunch of roles when you make your character, and you fall into 3 distinctive classes: peasant, middle class, and the gentry. Now, within those 3 middle classes, you have a chance to be Akua, which is a member of a sect, which is almost like cultists. And they go into more detail. And then a vampire, sire of Vlad Tepes. Yes, so they take that whole theme. So you can play a vampire in this game. And I think that is super cool. They really, really just set this theme. This book is just dripping with theme. The art is very evocative. When I think, 18th century, medieval Europe, or not, but colonial Europe, that's what I see right there. And that's just, bring out your dead, it's just, so, and so this is basically your life path for the peasant. You'll roll here, you'll roll percentiles to when you start making your character, and excuse me, you'll roll percentile, and you're either going to be a peasant, middle class, or the gentry. If the GM allows it, you can play one of these. So if you roll an 81 to 95, you can be Akua. If you roll 96 to 100, you could be a vampire. So you can see your chances are very slim. 80% of the populace falls into the peasant class. But the game addresses that and tells you why. And again, kudos to the game design team, to James and Mr. Lysandre. It's very well thought out. There is... and if you're lucky, and of course, if your GM allows it, you can pick. If you say, hey, I really want to play a gentleman vampire, the GM can let you. But, I'm a big fan of the random roll. So you can definitely roll, or you could choose. So, of course, it goes sequentially. So obviously here's our life path for our peasant. The horror that had spread across Europe during the 15th and 16th centuries had not changed the social structure of the 18th century. The classes were very much in place as they always had been. The peasants were still the majority, though they had become much more resourceful, learning and devising techniques to survive the horrors that stalked the fields and forest. Unfortunately, the peasant class are often more likely to become the victim of the evil that and are more susceptible to the blood rage that has infected so many. Most seekers come from the peasant class, and this fact has not gone unnoticed by the gentry, who consider it an affront and are also concerned about leaving their safety to a class that has not fared well under their control and governance. I like that. I mean, you can be mad all you want sitting in your lofty high tower, but these are the guys fighting the war. These are the guys in the trenches. So do you get off your high horse and you go help them, or do you just sit there and snort your snuff and bitch and moan and belabor about it, which is kind of cool. So then your attributes: conflict, fitness, and subterfuge, they all start at a 4, and then your skills are 20, 20, 30, 40, 50. It's weird because they don't describe to you how this is. What you have to do is you have to go in, if I remember correctly, you have to go in and you have to pick those skills. And you pick one skill at 20, another at 20, another at 30, another 40, and so on and so on. Eloquence and investigate start at 3 skills, and those skills are based off of those. So conflict, fitness, and subterfuge are your attributes. Learn and mind and occult start at 2 skills, 5, and then so you pick, and those get added on. Dark knowledge, 1d8%. For every 10 points in dark knowledge, 1 insight is gained. And then, of course, traits. I love games that have traits because it's that little oomph that sets you over the edge. And it's nice because, man, does this... I mean, how many times have we passed a homeless guy on the street, or, a thug type looking guy or dirtbag, and we ignore them because society tells us we don't want to see those people. And it's so true here. So, and then there you go. And then there's some talents and stuff, and there's your background. You can even flesh out birthplace, upbringing, and early career, and the benefits that you get to all your attributes. I would have liked a stronger explanation on your attributes and everything, but I get where they were going for. They want you to just dive right in, and it makes sense. Let's open up a character sheet here. I could scroll all the way to the back of the book, but we're not going to do that. Bear with me 1 second. Go. Let's break out a character sheet. So there's character sheet. I mean, this is, again, cut and dry, nothing fancy. Your tale of terror, basically, your statement, your class, your upbringing, your experience dice, background info, and then here you go. So here's your arcane attribute, and here's the skills you'll have, and you'll start at a percentage. Like I said, that 5, 5, 10, that'll be a starting percentage, and as you go through your life path, you'll add to that. But you can see, and of course, there's the ever insightful sanity, and then your insight and reason, your dark knowledge. Remember, that's some good stuff, some powers, depending on how you go, if you're a vampire or whatever. There's also a vampire character sheet as well. It's very similar to this, but it's a little different. I like how they do their wounds, but we're not here to talk about combat and stuff. I just wanted to give you an idea of how the character sheet looks. So it's a very base character sheet, but yet I like it because all the information is right there. It's in your face. What's my notice? Boom, it's right there. And it's you could really highlight it. You could get a highlighter and you could highlight that section. And you'd be good to go. I believe there's also a form fillable character sheet, but I just wanted to show the character sheet. So you go through your early career, you roll percentile, or if your GM allows you, you can pick. Again, I'm a big fan of the random, so you could roll, and you get plus 10 melee, toughness, and notice. Players are encouraged to embellish the results of their character's background, naming their birthplace, explaining the upbringing, etc. This can even be included in the character's tale of horror. GM should encourage any effort made to flesh out the character and reward the effort. I like that. So, early career. So again, remember, you're going to roll on those charts, and this is going to tell you what basically happens. And then your tale of horror. You get rewarded for writing a character background. How many role-playing games beat it over your head to tell you to, give your GM some background information, but they never give you any reward. Here you go. You can include up to 3 skills into their tale of horror, with each one increasing the skill by 5%. The first skill is free, but for any further skills included, the player must also include an event in their tale that lowers another skill by 5%. So you're rewarded to creatively think about your tale of horror, but it's also going to have effects on you, and they're detrimental. If you watch a werewolf slaughter your whole family, yeah, you may be mentally resolved, but you may have a fear of wolves now, and so, maybe your hunting skill has suffered because you're afraid you're going to run into wolves somewhere out in the woods. So that's just awesome. It works out really well. And of course, there's a little example. And then here's your tale. So if you're having a hard time coming up with your tale of horror, you can roll percentile, and it will give you a brief little blurb, and then you can expound upon it from there. Or you can leave it just as this. So if you're not, everybody's got those players that are really quiet at the table or not very creative in their writing. And that's the joy of role playing. As they play, they will get better because their mind will start to think. It's a muscle they haven't used. And of course, we all know the more you use muscles, the bigger they get. And your brain is a muscle. So that's kind of the logic here that I'm taking away from it. And I'm sure the guys will correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I read it. Is this, our patrol has been sent into the forest, but ... You can expound upon it, or you can leave it at that. Now, you're not going to get any extra background skills or any bonuses for that, but you can leave it at that. So it was sent into the forest. So maybe your tracking skill, you get a plus 5% to tracking, but maybe reasoning or whatever is going to be a minus 5% because of the horrors that you saw. And you can expound upon it. But if you can't, if you're not creative enough, or you don't think that way, and there's nothing wrong with that, boom, you can leave it at that, and you've got your background, and you've given your GM something to kind of work with. And then here's the statements. And when you come up with one of these statements, you get bonuses. I can read and write, which for the peasantry in the 18th century, that's a big deal. Somebody out there is dragging something or something, making a lot of noise. And then it goes in. So here we are. We're on page 29. Is this 29? Let's see. Yeah, page 29. So the PDF is true. Each seeker has a number of other stats called derived stats. These are, and it tells you. My pet peeve here is it never went in and told us what the base stats are. So you kind of have to figure it out. Like I said, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just a peeve on my part. They just throw you right in. So if you're not familiar with role-playing games, this can be a little daunting. But hopefully you'll have a GM or a guild master who will walk you through the process. And hopefully that's the case. If you buy this book and you run it for your group, and I highly recommend you do buy it. It's really well done. You'll catch the flow, no problem. I made a peasant guy, and he came out awesome. Little wacky. So these are your secondary attribute, your derived statistics, and it tells you how to get them. And your XP dice. Each time a character has a critical success or a critical fail, they mark the skill at the end of the session. They can roll their experience dice and increase their skill by that amount rolled. This is what I like. You are rewarded for doing things. Now, it's a slim chance of reward, but it is a reward nonetheless. And depending on your mind and how learned you are, is going to dictate what kind of XP dice you get. And basically, when you mark XP on that character sheet, you put your little check mark next to it, or tick, or however you and your guild master decide to do it. At the end of the session, any of those skills where you got a critical, you can roll whatever that XP die is, and your skill's going to go up by that much, which, that's awesome. And if you bank really well, you get a D10, man, again, a D4 and a D6 though are not bad, because your chances of rolling the max on there are a lot better than, say, a D10. I mean, you got a 1 in 10 chance to roll a 10, but you've got a 1 in 6 chance to roll a 6, or a 1 in 4. So in a percentile game, that can make a huge difference. Obviously everybody wants the 10% bonus, but there's nothing. And then if you got an outstanding crit and it was in the crux of the scene, the GM can always say, go ahead and mark experience for that skill, but you're going to take the max. That's what I would do. If you came through clutch and you did something uber awesome and everybody at the table was like, ooh, why not say, okay, hey, you can mark experience on your fire. You shot the demon right between the eyes and killed it with the silver bullet or the blessed bullet. And you rolled an aught 1, uber critical. Mark experience, and you're going to take whatever. You're going to take 10% in that. The GM can do that. I mean, or the guild master can do that. I'm sorry, guys, but the allergies here or something is killing my nose. I don't know. Damage bonus is your fitness plus conflict. This is the damage added to any unarmed and melee damage, because of course swords are still a big thing here. Not everybody has guns, and the peasantry, unless they're part of the militia, probably isn't going to have access to black powder firearms. But crossbows and things like that are still an option. So yeah, a little extra damage here never hurts. Your insanity, your reason, your injury, your wounds, your insight, and your focus. And then we jump into life path of middle class. And again, same thing. Gives you a little blurb, talks about the eloquence, your attributes. Eloquence, investigate, learn, start at 4. And then your linked skills, 2020, you pick any skills under that category on that character sheet. So like eloquence. So if we go here and we look at eloquence, we have commerce, deceive, diplomacy, etiquette, and languages. And if we go back to her, she gets a bonus of 20, 20, 30, 50, 40, and 50. And she gets to split those up between these. So they both start at a 4. And then she'll add that 4 to whatever her percentage is, if I remember correctly, or I don't remember now. I'm second guessing myself. We'll go through it. It was either that's what your critical range was, or that's what you add to the skill to get your final total number. But we'll go back and check. I have so many game systems in my head, and again, it's the same thing. So we get traits and talents, and we get to roll and bring our character to life a little bit more. Your tale of horror, your benefits. Again, if you your tale, you can go through here and help get some flesh. And again, your middle class statement, that's going to give you a small bonus, and then all your secondary derived stats. The gentry, same thing. You go through the same thing, and you go through a jar of eyes. You see it. And it gives you some more, again, it's the same process. So whatever you roll on that initial percentile chart is going to give you your base character class, and then you work from there. Awakening. Thousands of years ago, Nodins walked amongst mankind and lay with the daughters of men. These children that were born were part God, and together they vanquished the great old ones, carved the sign upon the gates of Riley, banished the spheres to the angels between time, and silenced the flutes of the mad god forever, or so they thought. These were your ancestors. Their blood flows through your veins, and with the power of gods, or it would if generations of breeding had not diluted the power. But a glimmer still exists, and this glimmer is your awakening. Each character receives a power which manifests from their tale of horror. The shock awakens the gene, similar to fight or flight response. Roll on the following table. These cannot be chosen and do not apply to Akuna or vampire characters. The attribute is the value needed to determine the focus. The seeker will roll equal to or under the seeker's focus in order to use their awakened power. So these are the abilities you get, and it tells you what attribute it's based off of, and then you have to roll. So you cannot choose them. You do not apply to vampires or Akuna. The attribute is the value needed to determine the focus. The seeker will roll equal to or under the seeker's focus in order to use their awakened power. So yeah, visions of the abyss, blink, possess, bend time, see auras, quicksilver. So all kinds of cool powers: levitation, spider climb, light step, curse, crow vision, corpse tongue. And then, of course, it goes into Quicksilver, the Seeker can move extremely fast, 3 times that of a normal person. During combat, the Seeker can move 3 times normal movement allowance and attack. Regeneration, the Seeker will regenerate wounds over time. The Seeker heals at half the time for a normal person. So yeah, there's some cool. Corpse tongue is pretty pimp. You can talk to the dead. It reminds me of the scene in Hellboy where he talks to the old Russian. And then it goes through becoming a Seeker. The final phase of character creation is becoming a Seeker. Of course, if you have decided to choose an Akuna or Vampire character, then you'll have their own final finishing section after each of their character creation chapters. Whatever your social class, once you become a Seeker, that is put aside. Within the league, you are all equal, rich or poor, male or female. Each Seeker starts with the following items: 2 weapons of your choice, Seeker's raiment, 3 sedatives, 5 items of equipment, 5 pounds in cash. Because remember, it's a British game, so we're still using pounds, not dollars. You have received a gift up from the masters. Roll D100 on the table below. And here's your gift. And then it tells you, we have all these random tables to roll on. It literally is a game of itself to make your character. And I love that. Warhammer Fantasy does that too. All of the versions of Warhammer have done this. And League of Seekers does it as well. You're very interactive in making your character. So you can sit here with your GM, and as you make this guy, you're going to start to develop a personality for them. You're going to start to develop how they look and how they feel. And it's really in depth, and I like that. So you get your gift or whatever. I mean, the Legend of the Wolf or whatever it was. That's just awesome right there. I can't remember the movie, but it was a French film about the cult and everything, and that's a solid picture right there. It reminds me of them. So let's see. Finally, each Seeker receives 5 attribute points, with no more than 3 points being spent per attribute, and 5 experience dice to spend on their skills. This 5 is a minimum number and can be increased by the GM to reflect time spent in the background by the player. The following chart should be checked to see if any extra experience dice are earned. So again, the Guildmaster is going to reward the players for being more in-depth about their character. Deep background detail. I have one of my players will write me a fucking book every time we make a new game. And I love that. That is awesome. And so this is a really, really cool that they do this. So deep detail background plus 1 experience dice. Remember, you're going to add, I forgot what it was for your experience, and that's going to equate to a die code, a D4 through a D10. And you're going to get 5 experience dice to spend. So you're going to take whatever, so let's say it's a D4, you could potentially walk up with 20 extra experience points to spend on skills, which remember, skills equate to percentage. The higher the number, the better your chance. And then, of course, 5 attribute points. And you can put a max of 3 points into 1 attribute. So that's awesome. Expansive tale of horror. Linked roles to background. So in other words, they wrote in their character background. And they linked what they rolled into their story. Bond between the Seekers. If you decide to say, hey, Bob is my brother, we grew up together, da-da-da-da, or Susie is my lover, and we're both Seekers, and we realize we can't be in love because of the career, da-da-da-da. These are all, so you can get an extra 5 dice. So you could be rolling 10 D4. That's 40 extra. But imagine if let's say starting character, you're going to be lucky to have a D6, possibly a D8 if you're lucky. I doubt it. It's because remember, your starting attributes started on average 4. So you're looking at an 8, which is going to put you at a D6 at best. So if you're lucky, you might, after you spend your experience points there, you might be able to whop out with a D8. So you could literally, if you go through all of this, you have the ability to possibly pop out 10 experience dice. And if you're rolling a D6, and it could happen, they all pop 6s. I mean, you're walking away with 60 experience points. That is awesome. So you could also roll really crappy, and roll all 1s, but still 10 extra experience points for just making your character, basically. That's amazing. And then Each seeker receives one blessing. These can be used to re-roll a fail, aid another player, gather more information, or flip a roll. Once used, a blessing will not return until the start of a new session. The seeker can never have more than 4. Blessings are earned. More about them can be found on page 90. So blessings are basically hero points, fate points, whatever you want to call them, and you can pretty much use. You can flip a roll. You start with one for free. Because this game is so dark and so heavy, in my opinion, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's good. I would start my players with 2 because I run a more heroic, more combat-centric type game. I would give my players 2, but that's just me. Some guild masters may want to be a little more evil and only give them 1, but you can earn more in play. Now here's your Akuna, or however you Akua, and there's everything you're creating, and I'm not going to go into detail with those, but it's the same process. I mean, there you go. They're basically spellcasters and cultists from way back when. Let's see, and then we're going to get into vampires. You can see they all have that kind of Middle Eastern theme. And then the vampire, which is the nice gentry, because the vampire would never be a peasant, and if he was, he or she would quickly raise themselves up. Your generation of your vampire is going to also affect your powers, which is pretty cool. It's a percentile roll, or the GM's going to allow you to pick. It's up to you. But yeah, it's all based on generation, which I love it. Dude. Then we got a nice piece of art here. And again, not necessarily work friendly. We got some boobage there, but how spooky is that? That is just, and the use of red there, the color just really nails them. So, and of course it goes back into all the vampire creation stuff, and we won't get too deep. Again, more awesome art. Knowledge. All fled, all done, so lift me on the pyre. The feast is over and the lamps expire. Robert E. Howard, author of Conan and other such tales. So then we go into the mechanics of the game. Is built around 9 attributes, each linked to 5 skills. These attributes and skills define your character, past experience, as well as social class. And then, of course, it goes into explain. I can see, after looking at the book a little more closely, why they did it the way they did it. I don't agree with it. I think the attribute section should have been before character creation, just to kind of give you an idea of where you're coming from. But I get why they did it. And for this book, it does work. It's confusing to this grognard's mind. That's just me. But I get it. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I dislike it. But I get why they did it. And it works. Like I said, not every game works like this. This game is completely different. It's a different take on horror. It's still Cthulhu horror. It's still vampires. It's things that go bump in the night and how you process it and deal with it. But you're a seeker. You are above and beyond the normal human being. You have faced your fear and you have come out ready to fight. And that's the point of it. I'm sorry, guys. My nose is killing me. And so this is how you deal with it. So, but at least, you get to page 62. So those following along at home, if you do buy the game, and again, I recommend you do, if you do buy the game, you might want to jump. If you're going to be the guild master, you might want to jump to page 62 and read here first, and so that you understand what these bonuses are going for when you're doing your character creation. Because players are going to, I think players would be lost going, what? But if you read page 62, and you read this knowledge section first, then it kind of makes sense. And it does fall into place literally quite easy. But, it's all your skills and everything. Inventing devices, so you can have that, which I think is cool. So you can have your tinkerer, your guy that makes the weird things. And then it talks about skill advances. So here we go when we were talking about the criticals. During a session, if a critical is rolled, the player can mark that skill by ticking the box next to the skill. This happens once per session. At the end of the session, the player must attempt to roll over the skill percentage, basically fail. If they are successful, the skill increases the amount rolled on the character's experience die. And then they give you an example. So you want to... I don't know if I agree with that. I think if you wanted to keep a relatively slower paced advancement, you do that. I think, I mean, the fact that you rolled a critical in the game, that's pretty awesome, especially on a percentage system. Even if you have really high percentages, rolling whatever the critical threshold is pretty awesome. So I think I would just go with, if you marked experience at the end of the session, you get to use your experience die. Maybe once you get up to a D10 level in experience die, I might have them make the skill roll and have to roll above, because there's going to be a point where your skill starts to get so high it's going to be really hard. You know, if you're in the if you've got a tracking of 70% or less, that's a pretty high skill, and I think at that point then you need to start making the failed skill roll to see if you can experience. That's just me. That's how I would tweak it. No game survives every guildmaster. We're all going to run it slightly different, or we're going to find things that work. But I would definitely run it the first 2 or 3 sessions this way and see how it goes, and then check with my players and say, hey, do you feel the advancement is good, or would you like it? Would you like to try it this way? Now, that being said, a basic level of characters most likely aren't going to have any skills that are over 45-50%. So the odds are pretty good that they're going to roll above and thus be able to spend experience rolls. Oh man, more just freaky. I don't even know what to say. Awesome art. We've got, hold on. The problem here is, in the wintertime, there's snow everywhere, and snow is a great sound dampener. And now that there's no snow, and I've got the windows open, it makes it very loud. So here's our trappings. A quote from Bram Stoker. And all kinds of neat things, and the penalties that go in with it. And, we're just going to kind of fly through this now. There's the basic, equipment. Everybody knows how to, buy equipment for their character. Standard clothing, all this stuff. Armor description, armor runes for those that have the mage ability. You can do things. And then weapon speed. Each weapon falls under a speed type. This indicates how many attacks per round the seeker can make with the weapon. So attacks per round. So if it's fast, so a speed 3 is really slow. You only get one. You only get one. Or fast 1 standard. Slow 1/3. Yeah. The length of the weapon can also attacker moving with a short weapon versus defender with a long one. Defender gets free strike. Okay. So you got to figure out your combat a little bit. That's not hard. Conan kind of uses the same thing. Where ranged weapons, you get the free attack. But then once they get in close, your spear is usually no good unless it's you're really well trained in it. At which point you drop your spear and you draw a melee weapon. But here's all of our melee weapons. And the weapons: weight, fast weapons, standard weapons, slow weapons. So your great axe is slow, but I mean, look at the damage: 2d6 plus 1. I'm a little concerned. Well, a mace does a d10, and a longsword does a d10, which you figure the average is going to be a 5, maybe a 6, whereas 2d6 plus 1. A great axe, which is heavy and it's a lot slower, is going to do, on average, 7 to 8 points of damage. The average of 2d6 is 7, I believe, so 8. I'm not quite sure I agree with those numbers, but I don't think this is a game so much about doing a lot of damage as it is living that horror story. That could be just me. Ranged weapons and thrown weapons. So yeah, just all of our basic equipment here. Nothing super. Magical props. Again, just cool art. I mean, food and drink, all your cost and everything. Another creepy piece of art. This book is full of it. Challenges. Tells you when in doubt, roll the dice. So basically role-playing stuff now. We're outside of character creation. It's just a normal RPG. And it basically tells you how to do the mechanics. Your percentage rolls, and you want to roll equal to or less than. Fumbles are achieved by rolling a 99 or a 100 on the dice. These can change based on the difficulty of the challenge. So if it's a hard challenge, your fumble chance increases to 95. So criticals, you get a plus 20% on the next challenge roll. The seeker can ask a relevant question, which the GM must answer. The seeker receives more information than expected. The seeker receives a blessing. So those are all cool things for what a critical or a fumble can do. You can also, this is the thing I really like, and this caught my eye, assisted rolls. A lot of RPGs don't take that in effect. Like D&D says, if you want to help somebody, there's two ways to go about it. You can make a skill check, and if you make it, you can give them advantage. Or if you want to forego less rolling, you can just say, I'm helping, that's your action as the secondary player, and you give the primary player advantage on their die roll. And that just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't feel good to me. I like how they do it here. So you can give 10% of your modifier. You can use a blessing to allow the seeker to re-roll, which is awesome. So you're involved in it. The players are going to want to know what the other players are doing because there's a chance that they can affect the outcome. And again, another reason why I think this game benefits from the low tech. No laptops, no PDAs, no phones at the table, and candlelit, just enough light to read the books and the character sheets by, and let's tell a story and let's be immersed in it. And I think the skill system here really, really helps with that. So opposed rolls, blessings, tells you how they all work. Just more cool art. Look at that. That is awesome. Conflict, here's our combat section. Everything you need to know about combat. So we go into it. Stealth attacks, the art right there is kicking out the window and shooting through. Matrix. But instead of bullets flying, it's only 2. Because each gun only shoots 1. Fear levels, because obviously, this is a horror game, so insanity and fear, mental trauma is going to be an issue, which I think is just awesome. And so, wound modifiers, other actions. I mean, basic mechanics of the game. Again, the art, it's just, little splotches of color, and then the greens. It's just so well done. And of course, we go, in the madness here and everything, all the effects, the horror, how horrors manifest. This is more GM stuff to afflict the players with. I thought that was a cool piece of art as well. Just dude running around naked. I assume it's a dude, I think, because I don't see any boobies. That's his chin. So I'm assuming that's a guy. The arcane arts, potions, which I think is really cool. Ingredients for potions. Just cool stuff. And again, the art, just everything is there. They cover a little bit of everything in here. You're going to have the tools to tell a very immersive story. Even if, I'm not a horror GM, so I think that this will allow me to run a better horror game. I think the advice that they give in here and the mechanics and the setting fluff, this will help me run a better. And I want to run this. I definitely have a strong. I wish I lived in a more urban populated area where there was more role players than what we have here in Duluth, because here, all I can find is D&D players and Pathfinder players. Nobody wants to try anything different. I started up my meetup group again. I don't know how long I'll be able to have it go for. Hopefully I can keep it going. But it's like $16 a month. It's not cheap. So, just all kinds of cool stuff. Arcane magic, just everything you need. More art. The Atlas. This is a little bit of the world. This is what you're going to need to know. And here's the cool part. We are halfway through the book. We're 130 pages out of 272. So, really well done. I just want to, basically now I'm just highlighting the art. You know what a role-playing book is. You want to set your game in Paris. Here you go. Okay. No. Not going there. That's just spooky. But that's the kind of art that's in this book. And, it gives us a good blow up of Paris, and you know, just neat stuff. In some NPCs, the German lands. Now, see, this is where I would kind of want to set my game, because being of German descent, this is what would really appeal to me. I love the use of red in the book. Just the way they do the color, I can't get over it. It's a beautiful book, guys. If you have the faintest interest in Cthulhu-esque turn of this or 18th century horror, go pick this up, man. Do yourself a favor, pick it up. I mean, that's just gross, okay? I don't know what to tell you there. Just go pick it up. It's a buy. A little bit of the art's been recycled, but it does lead to continuity. The colonies, so you want to be down there in Boston, you know, on the East Coast, the colonies in 1760 Massachusetts. Here you go. Here's all your information. So again, you could run spooky. You could run it here and be totally. It would be fine. Everything you need to, the basics of what you need to know is all there. And I love the little touch of red right there in the crow. Just again, more information on the colonies. There it is. I don't know what that thing is. I hope there's stats in here for whatever that thing is. The Dreamlands, yeah, because you can't have Cthulhu without the Dreamlands. Describing the Dreamlands is difficult. So there you go. That's all you need to say. And then it tells you how to enter and passing beyond the wall of sleep. And there you go. Just awesome art. Kudos to the guys over there. You guys, this is a beautiful book, and it's done really, really well. Let's see. Oh, I don't know what that is, but it's creepy. So some dramatis personal. Oh, let's go back to that. Wow. Okay, that's creepy. Hidden. Is this the adventure? I think this is this is the adventure. Page 2. No, this can't be the adventure. Maybe this is the adventure. Let's see. We're on page 205. Let's Oh, this is the monster, the bestiary, basically. And then the Beast of Dunwich starts on 245. So what we're on 205. Yeah, there we go. So these are just antagonists and stuff that you can use. I'm looking to see if there's Cthulhu. Great art. Just Servants of the Serpents, the Rosicrucians. These are, I mean, just monster types, cosmic horror, Dreamlands horror, folktale, the dark gods. It's everything you need, guys. This, you don't need Baba Yaga in her chicken-legged hut. You got your creatures of legend, you know. So all the different demons and stuff from Lovecraftian horror. Your cultist, which is what you're going to be running into most. Season of the Wolf, I think, is the name of that movie, that French movie. If anybody remembers the name of it, put it in there. With Manny, who's the Native American, which is actually he's a part Japanese American actor. He's the guy who also does à la cuisine, Iron Chef America. It's the same actor. He's actually in the new John Wick movie. He's actually plays a creepy, crazy dude in John Wick. If you haven't seen John Wick 3 and you're a fan of the franchise, go see it. It's totally worth it. These monsters, my ever favorite, my gargoyle. I would use those in my game. I love gargoyles. I don't know what that is, but it's scary as shit. All kinds of cool stuff. That's a ghoul. That's creepy. The infected. Yeah, so the great old ones. Yeah, if you run into those, if you're at that level in your game, you don't need to be watching this video. You're well aware of what the hell's going on. Wild dogs, all that fun stuff. Creepy. Beast of Dunwich. This is our adventure. I'm not going to show too much of this, but it goes to, it gives us, do we have pre-done characters? Reference section. Brotherhood of the Wolf. That's the name of the movie. Christopher Gans, 2001. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, and you want to get into the mood of this game, that's a great game. Or a great movie, I'm sorry. So our character sheet, and there's our blanks and our different types of characters. The vampires, the Yakuns. The Seeker Ledger. This was all the Kickstarters. So awesome. Thank you guys for your support and help making this book a reality, because I'm in here too. I should be. Now that I thought about it. Let's see if we see Mr. Mean. Oh my gosh. Mr. Mean, John Polak, right there. Dun, dun, dun. Woohoo! That's me, guys. So that's proof that I backed it right there. I'm in there. You call me insane, but I see the world as it truly is, and what I see is horrifying. And that's the end of the book, guys. I mean, just awesome. So I wanted to wrap the video up and say thank you to everybody for watching, and I appreciate it. And as always, like and subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Are you planning on picking this up? If you do run it, let me know how your session goes. I really want to know. And if you're rolling on either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds, send me an invite. I would totally play. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed going through the book. I think it's a great game. Let's see more of it, man. As always, peace and hair grease. And Mr. Mean says, be nice.